Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. I always thought when betrayal hit me, it would be loud, screaming, accusations, maybe even something physical. I thought it would be like in the movies. But when it finally came, it was silent. So quiet, it almost felt like I imagined it. It started with the small things. She stopped waiting up for me at night. Said she was just tired. I'd find dinner cold on the stove, sometimes not even that. She used to text me things during the day, reminders, funny reels, even the occasional dirty joke if she was feeling playful. That all stopped, slowly. Then suddenly. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Work had been a grind for both of us. Long days, short nights. Bills piling up, talks about upgrading the kitchen, maybe taking a vacation we couldn't really afford. I thought it was the usual wear and tear of a marriage 10 years deep. But then came the new clothes. She started dressing like she used to when we first met, tight dresses, bold lipstick, perfume I hadn't smelled in years. But she wasn't wearing it for me. That much was obvious. I still remember the first night I truly felt it. It wasn't the day I saw the messages. That came later. No, it was a Wednesday night. She came home late, around 10:30. Said she had drinks with a few girls from work. Her cheeks were flushed, not like she'd been drinking, but like she'd been kissed. She avoided my eyes when I asked her how it went. Said, "Fine," and disappeared into the bathroom for an hour. I stood there in the hallway staring at the closed door, listening to the water run, imagining what or who had made her smile like that. The next morning, she made herself avocado toast. Didn't offer me any. Sat at the kitchen island in her satin robe, legs crossed, tapping through something on her phone. I made coffee. She didn't look up. "You working late again?" I asked. She shrugged. "Yeah, probably." That was it. Not, "Yeah, sorry." Not, "Yeah, it's been a long week." Just that one, dismissive word. Like I was a roommate. Like we were just two people occupying the same address. She had checked out. I didn't need hard proof to know that. But proof found me anyway. A week later, I was sitting in the living room when her iPad, synced with her phone, lit up. She was in the shower. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I didn't even touch the screen. The message just glowed on the lock screen like it wanted to be seen. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about your mouth. M." I didn't react. I didn't storm into the bathroom or yank the iPad off the counter. I just stared at the screen until it went dark. And when it lit up again, it was her replying, "You're bad. You'll get me in trouble." I let the screen fade again. Got up. Poured myself a glass of water. Sat down. Nothing broke. Nothing cracked. Because something inside me had already snapped, but not in the way I thought it would. Not in the way she expected. You see, she thought she had me. That I was too in love, too committed, too weak to walk away. Maybe she even hoped I'd confront her. Scream. Give her a reason to paint me as the bad guy. But I didn't give her that. I gave her silence. Over the next few days, she acted normal. Or what passed for normal in the shell of our marriage. She came and went. Laughed at her phone. Spoke to me like a coworker. Asked me if I'd remembered to pay the water bill. And every time she spoke, I just nodded. Every smile she faked, I filed away. Because while she was busy acting like she was in control, I had already decided I was going to end it first. And not with yelling, not with begging, but with a single sentence she'd never see coming. I didn't need a PI. I didn't need a tracking app or spy camera or GPS tag. Everything I needed to know about her was already in plain sight. Her patterns were lazy, too confident. She thought I was too passive to even notice, let alone dig deeper. After that first message on the iPad, I waited. Not even 2 days later, another notification popped up during dinner. She was pouring herself wine. My back was to her, but I caught the corner of her screen light up on the kitchen counter. "When can I see you again? I miss those hips." She laughed at something on TV and turned the phone face down without blinking. I watched her sip her drink, legs crossed in those silky pajama pants she never wore for me anymore. She reached for a piece of garlic bread and said, "We're out of eggs. Can you grab some tomorrow?" I said, "Sure," and passed her the butter. That night, I lay in bed next to her, wide awake while she scrolled through her phone with her back to me. I stared at the ceiling, one hand on my chest, feeling nothing but air where love used to sit. She didn't turn to kiss me goodnight. She hadn't in weeks. I got up, careful not to wake her, and walked down to the den. Logged into our shared phone plan and changed the backup settings. Linked her cloud storage to my private account, just for a week. Just long enough to know exactly what I was walking away from. What I saw was worse than I expected, and at the same time, exactly what I expected. There were pictures. Of course. Nothing full-on explicit, but enough. His hand on her thigh in the front seat of a car. Her lips on his neck in a hotel mirror. She wasn't even cautious. Most were time-stamped in the middle of workdays she claimed she'd spent in meetings or unwinding at the gym. The man, let's call him Marcus, wasn't impressive. Objectively speaking, he looked like a guy who sold knockoff insurance or taught salsa part-time at a community center. Older than me by a few years. Gym built. Too many selfies and tinted sunglasses. Probably whispered empty affirmations to her while she laughed and bit her lip. There were texts, too. Nothing about love. It wasn't that kind of affair. Just adrenaline and ego and escapism. She'd text him things like, "He'd die if he knew how fast I undressed after dinner tonight. He asked how work was while I still had your scent on me." She was never this bold with me. Not even when we were young and obsessed with each other. But with Marcus? She was a different woman. The kind of woman I didn't recognize. The kind of woman I wouldn't want to recognize. I thought about confronting her. I really did. I imagined placing the printouts on the table during breakfast, watching her freeze mid-bite as I read one of the messages aloud. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that would give her too much. A reaction, a scene, an outburst to paint me as dramatic or fragile or insecure. And I wasn't insecure. Not anymore. I didn't want to hurt her. I wanted her to feel what I felt. Quietly. Completely. Without anyone to blame but herself. So I started preparing. I called a lawyer. We talked through division of assets, joint accounts, and what documentation I'd need to file cleanly. I opened a private bank account in my name only. Rerouted my paychecks. Closed our shared Amazon Prime, Netflix, Spotify, petty? Maybe. But mine. I even started sleeping in the guest room. Told her it was work stress. She didn't question it. Just gave me a lazy, distracted, hope you get some rest, and went back to texting someone who wasn't me. And each day that passed, the weight got lighter. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I just built the exit, brick by brick. And then one afternoon, as I sat outside with a glass of bourbon and the final draft of the divorce papers in a manila envelope, I knew it was time. I'd be calm, civil. I'd hand it to her like a letter from a long-lost friend. Because I wasn't going to ask her to stay faithful. I was going to let her go. She just didn't know it yet. She was wearing that black dress again. The one she claimed was for work dinners and networking events, though it hugged her body in a way I hadn't seen her wear for me in years. I hadn't said anything the first few times, but tonight, as she sprayed perfume into the air and walked through it like she was stepping into a dream, I just watched. She glanced at me in the mirror, half laughing. "You're staring." "Just thinking," I said, keeping my voice even. She turned, curling her hair at the ends. "About what?" "About how perfect this weekend will be for both of us." Her head tilted. "Weekend?" I smiled just a little. "Yeah, we need it, don't we? A little clarity. A clean break." She looked confused, but not threatened. I think she thought I was talking about a vacation. A reset. Maybe she assumed I was trying to win her back. Sweet, oblivious projection. I stood up, walked over to the table, and placed the envelope in front of her purse. "What's that?" she asked, still half smiling. "Our next chapter," I said. "Go ahead, open it." She picked it up, casual, like she didn't think it mattered. The moment she saw the word divorce at the top, the color drained from her face. Her fingers froze on the paper. Her eyes darted back to mine, wide and blinking. What is this?" "You've made your choice," I said softly. "I'm just giving you the freedom to live it. No more pretending. No more lying. Just you and Marcus. Free and clear." She dropped the envelope. Literally. It slipped from her fingers and landed on the floor like it burned her. "You're divorcing me?" she whispered. I nodded. "Finalizing it this week. Everything's in order. I've had months to prepare." That part wasn't entirely true. It had been 3 weeks. But I wanted her to feel like I'd emotionally left long before the paperwork caught up. "I don't understand," she said, the panic rising in her throat. Why would you? You thought I'd beg, didn't you?" I asked. "Or break down. Maybe cry. That's why you dragged this on. Why you got reckless. You assumed I needed you more than I needed self-respect. That's not fair." "No." I cut in, calm but sharp. "What's not fair is me staying married to someone who laughs behind my back in another man's arms. Who texts him while I make dinner. Who comes home from his bed and lays beside me like nothing happened. She looked stunned. Not sorry. Not yet. Just stunned that I was the one saying the words. I made a mistake, she said finally, the default setting of every cheater. It wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything. I believe you, I said. I think you never loved him. But you didn't respect me either. And that's the part one can't forgive. She opened her mouth like she had more to say, but the words never came. Not because she had none, but because, for once, mine had landed first. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a drink, and left the papers where they lay. She stood in the living room for a long time, still dressed up, still perfumed, ready for someone else. And for the first time in years, I felt peace, not rage, not heartbreak, just the kind of quiet that follows when a storm passes and nothing's left to blow over. She didn't leave the house that night. Neither did I. We just existed on opposite sides of a truth too big to ignore anymore. And I think that scared her more than anything. She didn't go out that night. Didn't even take the dress off. She just sat on the edge of the bed like someone waiting for a train they knew had already passed. I didn't say much after that. We coexisted through the weekend like strangers in a hotel lobby, polite, distant, completely done pretending. By Monday morning, the act was over. She woke up early and sat beside me on the couch, cradling a mug she hadn't even sipped from. I didn't expect this, she said. I know. I thought. She trailed off, then tried again. I thought we could talk before it got this far. You had 100 chances, I said quietly. You talked to him instead. She stared at the floor like it might offer her a better excuse. It wasn't serious. You already said that. It was a phase. I was lost. I didn't know how to fix us, and I didn't want to hurt you. I nearly laughed. So you cheated to protect me? She didn't respond. I'm not here to be cruel, I continued. But you don't get to play the victim now. I was confused. No, I said, shaking my head. You were entitled. That's what this really was. Her expression shifted, offense flickered behind her eyes. She wasn't used to me talking like that. I'd spent too many years being patient, understanding, soft. She had mistaken that softness for submission. And now? She couldn't recognize the man sitting in front of her. She tried a new angle. We can fix this. Please. I'll cut things off with him. I'll go to therapy. We'll go together. Marcus already dumped you, didn't he? Her mouth parted, stunned. Yeah, I said, voice low. I figured. Guys like that don't do well with real-world consequences. Especially not when they realize the husband they disrespected isn't as weak as they thought. Tears welled up. Finally. But I didn't feel satisfaction. Just confirmation. She reached out, fingertips brushing my arm. Please don't do this. I still love you. No, I said. You loved what I gave you. Stability. A reputation. Safety. But me. I paused. You stopped loving me when you started lying without flinching. She pulled her hand back like she'd touched fire. And then, like clockwork, came the last twist of the knife. Her sister called me that afternoon. I was out in the garage, boxing up some of my things, when I saw her name light up the screen. Can we talk? She asked. Just 5 minutes. We met at a small cafe downtown. Neutral ground. Her voice was low, her eyes darting. She's been doing this longer than you think, she said. I said nothing. She had someone else last year. Some guy from her yoga class. I wanted to tell you, but she always finds a way to make you look like the bad guy. I nodded slowly. She said you were cold. Emotionally distant. Controlling. That stung, but I let it settle. I didn't believe her, her sister added. Not after I saw how much you did for her. The truth is, she's been addicted to attention for years. She just finally got caught. I thanked her. Paid for her coffee. Walked away. There was nothing left to say. That night, when I got home, she was waiting for me in the living room. Eyes red, tissues scattered like petals across the floor. I don't want to be alone, she whispered. You weren't, I said. Not for a second. I just wasn't the one you wanted. She didn't argue. Didn't chase me. Didn't scream or slam doors. Because by then, even she understood, this wasn't rage. This was freedom. And I wasn't handing it to her. I was taking it for myself. The divorce finalized faster than I expected. She didn't contest anything. Didn't even try to stall it. I think part of her hoped I'd change my mind at the last minute. That I'd wake up one morning, miss her warmth beside me, and ask to undo everything. But that morning never came. I had already done my grieving. Not for her, but for the version of us I had once believed in. The one I fought to hold together while she was slipping out the back door, texting other men with a smile on her face. We split the assets. I kept the house, not because I was attached to it, but because she was. And that felt fitting. She moved into a small apartment downtown. Stylish, modern, empty. Her social media went quiet. No more glamorous selfies or yoga class brunches. No cryptic quotes about freedom or healing. Just silence. I don't know if Marcus ever came back. I doubt it. Guys like him don't stick around once things get real. He probably moved on to another woman convinced she's special until she's not. A few mutual friends reached out to me. Most didn't know what had really happened. The ones who did didn't have much to say. Nobody defended her. They just shook their heads and said, "Man, I didn't see it ending like that." Neither did she. That was the point. The day she came by to pick up the last of her things, she stood in the doorway for a moment, just looking around. Her voice was soft. "You really did it," she said. I nodded. I meant what I said. "You deserve your affair partner. Free and clear. I don't want him anymore. I don't want you anymore." She winced, but there was no venom in her. Only disbelief. It was the first time in years she wasn't the one ending something. She didn't know how to stand on the other side of that door. She asked if we could talk someday, once the dust settles. I told her she was free to talk to whoever she wanted. I just wouldn't be listening. And that was that. No screaming. No dramatics. Just two people standing in the ruins of what used to be, finally telling the truth. I've been sleeping better. Eating better. I even started running again, something I hadn't done since our second year of marriage, when everything still felt exciting and possible. The silence in the house no longer feels like a threat. It feels like air. Clean, unpolluted air. I'm not bitter. She gave me clarity. By betraying me, she removed every shred of doubt I might have carried. She thought I would be the one begging to stay. Instead, I handed her the exit. She just never thought I'd be the one strong enough to walk through it first. And that's the part that will echo longest in her memory. Not my anger. Not my pain. But the door closing, without a single word left to say.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.